Hi. Now, what we're going to look at is this talk would look at the cost consideration when we are pricing and exporting goods. The reverse of it is importing. When you are importing, you look at these costs would be passed to you, or you have to pay some of them yourself. This talk would, on your course, you will see there is a cost consideration section, and there is what you call export order, and how you put an export order together, being pro forma invoice or final invoice. So this talk will relate to both of these two elements of your course. Now, when looking at exporting goods, obviously you have got normal, like trading, the costs, all the costs associated with your production cost and packaging cost, but the packaging might be different. Now the product specification can be different from your local specification, so and depends the type of sort of products you have got. There's alteration to be done, and that would incur cost. So if I break it down, I will look at the product development cost. Now, you may have a ready-made, mass-produced product which is going, so it doesn't affect it that much. You might be an engineering firm, and you are actually have to build to the specification of the client's requirement. So then you would have you need to come up with this engineering specifications, looking at the client's requirement. That has got a cost itself. Also, it may require a specific packaging for it, for your goods. The documentation is in your artwork or in your drawings and so on. So you have to look at it. Does this order initiate or some of these costs? The cost of production of the goods itself, the finished product, sometime even the cost of that would change because you have to change it to the requirement of the client. The packaging can be changed because you need a different language on it. You need to put different specification on it. So you have to look at the packaging cost. It would be more than your normal one because your normal one is already ready to go. You have got plates and templates and cutters and whatever. So if you've got a new one, it has to be, all artwork has to be done. Export packing, obviously your normal packing for normal internal distribution may not be adequate for export packing, for export. Going through the containers or overseas or so on. So you would have definitely export packing costs. You would have certifications, for the export requirement, health certification if your goods are edible or is agricultural. You may have different sort of, so those certificates would cost money. Quotas fee. There are a lot of countries, they would have a export quota fees from the country of origin. We will look at the import, the cost of destination as well in a minute. Licensing fee, you may be producing under license, and the license may not allow you to ship it in another country unless you pay something extra. Then you've got all those documentations where locally somebody buys from you, a local normal invoice is done. Now when you are shipping it, you have got commercial invoices, pro forma invoices, packing list you have to do, certificate of origin, certification documents for health, and so many other things. So all these, they will cost money. It's not just going to happen on their own. So they have to be considered. Fees for government agency, export clearances, export licensing, may have export inspection as well. So you have to know exactly what is associated with exporting that specific product. You may have a pre-shipment inspection by the buyer or buyer's agent. Then you would have agent's fee if you got people involved in getting this business together for you. Then the pre-carriage cost. The pre-carriage cost, the goods, if you're selling it, for example, FOB, if you say X work, all has to be done, ready for export, packed, and then is uploaded to the buyer's transport mode. But if you're selling FOB, then you have the cost of moving the goods to port and then or to terminal, and then loading it as well. And if you are doing any other mode, I mean, going like if it's CNF, if it's SIF, so that all those additional costs has to be considered and comes forward. Then you have got people involved, the intermediaries like forwarding agent, the people who would deal with your goods in the port to make sure it goes on the ship and is sent to the right place. Then in the port of export, where your goods are destined to go to, then you have got documentation costs there, then you got forwarding agents there, which got to receive your goods and move them through the customs or whatever is the local regulations. You got the port and security fees, you got temporary costs, warehousing costs, and so on. So the carriage handling, remember, the goods arrive there is on the ship or is on a truck or whatever, it has to be unloaded again. So there is the unloading that has to be moved temporarily to somewhere which can be warehoused. They have costs with that. Then if you are doing that or delivering to the customers, to your buyer's warehouse, then you have got local transports as well as all these other transport. Then depending how the main carriage is done between the two destinations, is it a container or is it less than a container load, is it air freight or is it a ship by is a shipment to over the sea, maritime sort of thing. So you got all those insurance elements to it, the brokerage, the custom broker, and the export port as an import port. The duties, if you are delivering duty paid, so is your problem as well. Temporary warehousing, and also the goods maybe you're sending a container, but it's going to 2 or 3 different buyers. So the bulk good has to be broken into smaller consignments. So there is a cost as well. I mean, in that port, they don't just allow you to open your container and start, loading it in different vans. So that you have to pay for that, and also again the securities and the port fees and so on. The end bit of it, you're gonna probably have got a commission to pay to somebody who got the deal sorted out for you. You may need to have a long-term warehousing if you are stocking the product in the destination country and then subdividing it and distributing it there. And finally, I know I'm going through it quite fast for you. Finally, there is a cost of payment. Now, if it was an LC, for example, there is a bank charges which goes with it. If it was a bill of exchange, or it was paid in one currency and you are actually dealing in another currency. So there are cost elements which are related to the payment method as well, being interest, insurance, exchange rate problems, or the bank handling charges. Now, these are sort of very quickly going through the list. The list is on your course. You will see this again, most of it, on when you're preparing a pro forma invoice or an export invoice, which you obviously would have the goods. You have to have a cost of goods, and then you break down of all these elements, which the insurance and packaging and export packaging and transport, local transport, the main carriage, and so on, has to all come clearly on that export license, export invoice. And I would talk about the other issues of customs and duties later on in the next talk, but not only look at the cost element of your course, also look at the export invoice procedure as well. This talk relates to both of them. See you later.